Joining me now is Dr. Nikolai Vitti. He is the superintendent of the Detroit Public Schools Community District. It's good to see you. Also with me is Nicole Sherard-Freeman. She's the executive director of Detroit's Office of Workforce Development. Hi, Nicole.
Hi.
And Veronica Sanchez Peavey. She is the senior assistant vice president for adult services at SARE Metro Detroit. Thank you all for being with us tonight. This really starts off a large conversation about where we are. And Nicole, I'm wondering if you can kind of set the stage for us right now in terms of what are some of the barriers that we're seeing to filling jobs and keeping people employed in the city of Detroit and what you're working on.
Yeah, such important questions. So, I will tell you, FCA has given us incredible insight into what Detroiters are facing and the hard questions that employers are wrestling with. And so we had more than 37,000 Detroiters indicate interest in FCA jobs. And while we see some of the more typical barriers that we've talked about a lot in this community, transportation, childcare, ability to complete a GED or adult education, we are also seeing sort of the next level of barriers that we need to solve for. And so work readiness has taken on entirely new meaning because at the same time that we're closing the gaps for Detroiters, employers have higher expectations. And so as they're articulating to us the kinds of skills they expect job seekers to come to the table with, it's helping us understand just how deep the gap is.
So what kind of programs does Detroit have right now to be able to help? You said 37,000 people interested in jobs.
Yeah. So we have always provided a set of core services. I mean, the legislation and federal funding that we use mandates that we provide, a certain level of access for job seekers. And so, help building resumes. And we work with our partners like SARE Metro and certainly the district on interviewing skills and work readiness and having the right attire. But what we've put in place for employers now is a different set of strategies that really helps us advance what they've asked us to deliver on. And so with FCA, we did a 90-minute, 2-hour readiness event for every Detroiter who was interested before they even get to the application process. And then on the other side of this process, we're going to run 2-week readiness courses that are specifically designed for the employer. That's one of the key differences in the system now versus, 5 years or so ago.
When we look at filling the jobs that are there right now and also looking towards some of the jobs of the future, so much goes hand in hand with education and how we're going to be able to educate our kids. When you take a look at the opportunity that kids have, do you think that they know what's out there for them? Are they preparing more than they used to? Or is it really up to the district to say, this is what is out there and this is where we can get you, if you're not on one track, then we can help you discover another track, or maybe you can then jump to something else that you didn't know existed?
Well, as I've said, I think Detroit has a opportunity gap, not a talent gap. Our children are ready and they're capable. They just need the exposure, the confidence, and the skills to be successful after high school. So the way that we think about this is that high school and really the K-12 experience should be a springboard to college or the world of work, and comfortable with allowing those both pathways to flourish. So our responsibility as a school district is, one, to make sure students have stronger skills in literacy and math, and I think most recently our standardized test scores at the state level demonstrate we're moving in that direction. But beyond that, we have to provide students with the opportunities outside of school, and I think that's why the latest partnership work with the city, along with businesses, demonstrate the willingness to invest in the school system where children are at on a consistent basis and begin to expose them to those career opportunities beyond that. Our budget alone would never allow for the redevelopment of Randolph to happen or Breithoff and eventually go lightly in the work we're doing with FCA at Southeastern, for example. When businesses invest in the infrastructure with the right equipment and the right classroom structure, we have the human capital from a teacher perspective to offer those opportunities so that it becomes an exposure situation, but also a leverage and a springboard to work. And we have to be comfortable with the difference between that pathway to college and the pathway to a career, because that initial pathway to career may end up being later a pathway to college. That's why our dual enrollment work is so important. We believe the high school level students can take college courses at the high school level and even connect that to some of the industry certification areas so that you're actually getting the college experience to do enrollment, but also the industry exposure as well.
Talk to me a little bit about Randolph. We saw in that story previously, just how is enrollment up? I mean, and what are some of the students' experiences?
Enrollment continues to go up every year. We're over 260 right now, and it's growing even this year. It's about exposure. It goes back to your earlier question: do students know these opportunities exist? Many don't.
And do people make assumptions
Oh yeah,
about career tech?
absolutely. That's why we're trying to go to the K-8s and even to the elementary schools for walkthroughs at Randolph, so students can know what's available to them, and just to create that greater exposure. But the investment in the infrastructure is leading to a different conversation. In that what you see in Detroit right now with our industry certification programs, our CTE programs, are unique in the region. You would have to go much farther than the Detroit metro area to see that kind of investment in those kind of buildings. So now it's just creating awareness and better partnership with businesses beyond what we've already seen happen to create that direct pipeline to the workplace, or college with those more experience to then go back to the workplace.
Veronica, with Sarah Metro, you're doing a lot of work with youth, but you're also doing a lot of work, obviously, with your programs with adults. What are some of the people telling you when they're saying, look, I've got these skills, or this is what I'd like to do, but I don't know where to go next? How are you able to help them?
Well, we are connected to Detroit at Work Career Centers in addition to some of the programming we have in-house. And really it's about connecting them to not just the training, but the supports that they need. We really need to wrap our arms around our Detroiters to ensure that we're addressing the barriers. Nicole mentioned transportation, childcare, but we're also seeing mental health issues, drug use, and those that have a criminal background.
You know, Nicole, we talked a little bit earlier with Nolan and Stephen about that gap. Do you believe the gap is widening, and do you believe that we have the tools in place to start to close the gap?
Yeah, so I don't know if I believe the gap is widening. I believe we're understanding the gap better. I believe we have better data and better insights and analytics because of that data. So I don't know if the gap is any wider than it has been, although certainly, approving recreational marijuana use doesn't help any of us, in getting out a message that says if it's illegal at the federal level and employers don't support it, then you don't get a job. And so
I was just going to say,
that's a struggle.
how is that going to change what you think the job landscape is going to be in the next year or so here?
Yeah, so I will tell you, I think that two things are happening. So we are certainly doing our work in partnership with the district as we talk to youth, and in partnership with Sarah and Goodwill and many others on telling people very clearly that smoking marijuana is a non-starter for so many jobs and careers. Now, there are some careers and jobs where there is no background testing and no one really cares. But for the construction growth and manufacturing growth that we're seeing in the city, it's still a significant barrier.
Did you want to jump in on that? Oh,
I think
you're like,
Nicole said it well.
Veronica, let me ask you this. When in terms of getting people ready for jobs and meeting them where they're at, do you have people coming to you and asking for, is there another place where we can go for skills, or is there something that I can try to get myself back into school? What are you hearing most from people?
We're hearing they want opportunity. So when they walk to the door, we're looking at the whole landscape, whether it's a Randolph opportunity or something in-house, like with their youth build program for the young adults, or, it's going to Focus Hope for some additional manufacturing training. So we try to meet them, yes, where they are, and try to direct them to, based on the assessment, the career coaching, and the supports that we provide, the right path for them.
How important has the partnerships been? I mean, as we look across this panel here, and people we're going to be talking to later on in the show, in aligning the same goals together, so you're now in the same concert of the same direction.
Definitely important. I mean, we have to, as RTVC, we have to leverage our resources right now, and we can't do it alone. So the fact that, service providers are at the same table with the mayor's office, with, Detroit Public School District, it's important to have a seamless process, a seamless referral system for our customers walking through the door.
Dr. Vitti, give me a sense of a 5-year plan for you in terms of when you talk about kids and their career readiness, or where they want to go beyond high school.
Well, as I said earlier, I think at the elementary level is critical to develop the skills that can propel a student to go in any direction that they're interested in. That's why that solid literacy and math foundation is key. But beyond that, to start to build the critical thinking skills, the ability to work in groups, to problem solve, to be adaptable, the things that we heard earlier today. that's key. So that's I think only the school district can do that, coupled with partnership with families and the greater community. But then after that, the business investment is critical because we're able to invest in new facilities, new equipment, recruit teachers to come in to do this work, and that can become then internship opportunities for students, externships for teachers. So I think our key is as a school system, let's build the skills, the interest level, and then with that business investment and the city partnership, we're now seeing that acceleration with the actual work skill experience. And I think in the future, in the next couple of years, you're going to see students that are better prepared, more confident, thinking more out of the box. That's why I think even things like investing in art and music were critical to expand that innovative thinking, creative thinking that we're doing at the elementary, middle
And
school
you got
level.
those programs up and running this
Yeah,
year.
every school now has a music or an art program, and you might not think that is a connection necessarily to STEM, but it's really STEAM, adding the A to the arts,
the arts.
to go beyond just science and math. So that's what I think we're doing differently. And then when businesses are willing to invest, we're responding much in a more nimble way to make things happen. Where in the past things got sometimes fell off the table with getting things done on time. And you just go to Randolph and Brightoff and see the way we turned around that investment in facilities and now seeing an increase in enrollment.
Nicole, I'm going to let you have the last word on this in terms of how this makes us look as a region and the strength of our state in terms of getting people to work and getting them trained for the job opportunities that we have right now, what impact that has on us as a state.
Oh, sure. So I want to go back to your point about partnerships because I think it leads into the point you're raising. So you have DPSCD, the city, our partners represented here, nonprofits, and others in the room. Like this is a huge lift. And there's no other place in the country that is undertaking this in the way that the Mayor's Workforce Development Board and partners like DTE and Strategic Staffing Solutions, the CEO Regional Council, like you just won't see a set of partnerships like this anywhere else in the nation. And so that leads us to a point where we are much better positioned regionally and nationally to compete with other areas across the nation for large-scale business. So FCA chose to bring their business here because we have the partnerships that can deliver the workforce talent that they need.